Yeah, thanks, Prateek. Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the earnings conference call to discuss the performance for the fourth quarter and the full year ended 31st March 2020. We are living in uncertain times, but I hope that all of you on the call are safe and the family and close ones are healthy. I also hope that you've had a chance to review our financial statements and the earnings presentation, which have been made available on the exchanges and also on our own website. Like Prateek mentioned, I have my colleagues Sheetal, Deepal and Prakash on this call, and we are here to give you an overview of our performance and also happy to answer all questions that you may have. I would like to request my colleague Deepal to start with an overview of the financial performance. Over to you, Deepal.
Thank you, Ravi. Now let me take you through the consolidated quarterly financial highlights first. The total revenue from operations stood at 1,871 crores for the quarter ended 31st March 2020 as compared to rupees 1,727 crores for the corresponding period last year, which is an increase of approximately 8%, mainly on account of volume and revenue growth in the MTO business. EBITDA for the quarter was at 106 crores as against 107 crores during the corresponding period last year. Profit after tax was reported at 54 crores for the quarter as against 80 crores during the corresponding period last year, which is a decline of approximately 32%. Coming to the consolidated full year highlights, the total revenue from operations stood at 7,346 crores for the year ended 31st March 2020 as compared to 6,894 crores last year, which is an increase of approximately 6.5%. EBITDA for the year ended was at 503 crores as against 448 crores last year, which resembles a growth of 12%. Profit after tax, the PAT was reported at 234 crores for the year ended as against 248 for the previous year, a decrease of approximately 5%. A quick highlight on the balance sheet front. As on March 2020, the total equity was at 21,072 crores, that is 2,172 crores, and the net debt was 1142 crores. The net debt equity ratio was at 0.53 as of March 2020. The return on capital employed stood at 9.2 as of March 2020. Now I'd like to hand over to Ravi to take you through the key business segment highlights for the quarter. Over to you, Ravi.
Thank you, Deepal. Starting with the MTO segment, the total revenue for the fourth quarter ended March 20 was 1,692 crores as against 1,539 crores for the corresponding previous period, an increase of about 10%. EBIT was reported at 63 crores as against 57 crores for the corresponding previous period, also indicating an increase of 10.9%. The return on capital employed for the MTO business stood at 24% on an annualized basis. The business had limited impact due to COVID, and for the MTO segment in the fourth quarter FY20, the impact was limited because of significant initiatives that we as a company took on business continuity plans. Our teams did an excellent job in both customer service, use of technology, and responding quickly to the situation to manage our bottom line. All our offices continue to be operational across the world by managing work from home with extremely good efficient operations. Therefore, we did not have any major disruptions. The international business showed only modest contraction through March end as a result of supply chains needed to be restocked post an extended Chinese New Year holiday period. The segment continued gaining global market share for us, and the volumes from allied and FTL services also continued to grow. Our EQ Worldwide business had consistent gross profit. Our multimodal transport operations clocked a total volume of 182,528 TEU for the fourth quarter, which grew by about 8.7% year on year. So the healthy growth in our MTO business continues. I would now request my colleague Prakash to take you through the operational and financial highlights of the CFS and ICD division. Over to you, Prakash.
Thanks, Ravi, and good afternoon, everyone. In our CFS and ICD business, which was quite a lot in the news, especially during the COVID, because of the lockdown and many other things. But let me first take you through the business segment. The total revenue for the fourth quarter ended on 31st March 100 crores versus 112 for the corresponding previous year. There was a marginal decline in volume in the quarter, primarily due to slowdown in exports due to COVID impact in March because there was a lockdown, as container deliveries were deferred in the next month. EBIT was at 23 crores versus 31 crores in the corresponding previous year. Margins were impacted due to small drop in revenue and increased operational costs. The quarter stood at 73,400 approximately. Period last year. This is obviously this is at the backdrop of starting 12th or 13th already the effect of COVID or lockdown was being talked about. The overall capacity utilization, if you see at the end of the fourth quarter, was actually very, very good. When I say very, very good, because the containers which came in actually stood inside the CFS, and the lockdown, what it did was the containers would come from the terminal or the port, but were not being delivered because there was nobody taking delivery. So that's why the effect, or I would say the utilization, was very high because of this issue at the end of the quarter. So lockdown and disruption in transportation were the key elements where the drivers' shortages were there. It has not been easy as we kept up the movement of goods from the ports and terminals into the CFS across the country. And being an essential service, we were, ensuring that the ports did not get choked and the functioning of the exempt trade continues. In short, actually, it was only import trade which was coming in. Exports were not happening at all. And, our team played a very important role. Despite all the challenges, they actually delivered a fantastic result to the customers who were in dire need of evacuating cargo from the port into the CFSs. This also clearly demonstrated and established that the CFS is a business here to stay, because these disruptions would create a chaos if the CFSs wouldn't have been there. And that's why DPD took a back seat, and clearly there was hardly any DPD and all the volumes moved into the CFS. So the last point is the return on capital employed. Yes, we were at 21%. And that's it from my end. Ravi, over to you again, and please for the balance of the businesses.
Thanks, Prakash. I would now like to highlight about the project and engineering solutions. The total revenue was at 88 crores for the quarter ended March 31st, 2019, as against 92 crores for the corresponding period last year. EBIT loss was reported at 10 crores for the fourth quarter. As we all are aware that most of the sites were mandated to be closed due to the nationwide lockdown, and the equipments were naturally not operating for the first 4 weeks in particular. Since the third week or fourth week of April, the operational sites continued to increase, and we had a gradual increase in the utilization of the equipment, and also the resumption of project cargo business, which has consistently and steadily grown over the last 6 to 8 weeks. And if you look at the overall annual basis for the FY20, our equipment utilization levels were better than the previous year, and we had moved to 65% on an annual basis. And if you look at only the run rate at the end of the quarter, it was even higher. If you look at the decline in EBIT, which I spoke about just now, it was driven by a couple of factors, one being accelerated depreciation, and also there was a change in provisions made for doubtful debtors as per our accounting policy. However, I would like to highlight here that these projects typically are long cycle projects with usually the market behavior is such that usually the credit periods are extended, and therefore we keep seeing a lot of reversals in provisions for doubtful debt in this business. So there are strong chances of recovery for some of these provisions that we have made in our books as per the accounting policy. If you look at the project logistics business, we have as of 31st March 2020, we have an executable order book of approximately 140 crores with a very strong visible pipeline of almost close to 475 to 500 crores. Coming to our logistics parks business, the total revenue was 11 crores for the quarter ended March 31st, 2020, as against 2 crores for the corresponding period last year. Since most of these constructed sites were pre-leased, the company did not witness any business impact due to COVID-related lockdowns, though there was, of course, a natural disruption, primarily on the construction activity for sites under construction, but nothing of extremely significant importance. As you're already aware, and we've spoken about in some of the earlier calls as well, we have signed up a deal to exit our stake substantially, reducing our investments in the logistics parks to a 10% minority strategic stake, and the deal is going to be consummated by the end of this financial year. Finally, to update you about Gati, we completed the acquisition of 46.83% stake in Gati in April 2020. All Cargo's strength in the ocean transportation and global leadership in less than container load, combined with Gati's expertise in land and transportation within the country, will enable us to offer truly end-to-end solutions to our customers. The combined synergies of All Cargo's global network of over 300 offices across the world in 160 countries and Gati's extensive domestic reach covering almost 19,800 PIN codes in India. With all the variety of businesses that we have ranging from ocean freight, CFS and the express and domestic business, even on the project logistics where we can also offer integrated non-containerized solutions as well. Now we as a group have an unmatched integrated presence across the value chain with the strength of being a company in India with a very deep-rooted, strong presence covering the entire geography domestically, and also with an extremely wide footprint of our own offices and a leadership presence in the LCL space globally. We believe there'll be a lot of synergies through this acquisition, and we are also focused, and even before COVID, we had been focused on digitization, the opportunities for transformation in the business, and therefore we have engaged respected, reputed consultants on both the businesses which are within All Cargo and also on the Gati side to turn around, to accelerate the growth, and also to bring out the best synergies from across all the businesses in the group. That is all from our side. Thank you very much, and the floor is now open to any questions you may have, and we'll be pleased to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handset while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. We take the first question from the line of Sayal Das Sharma from Bank of Baroda. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, I have 3 questions. First question is on the MTO business. So if I look at the drivers, underlying business drivers of MTO and CFS business, both are linked with container trade. But if I look at CFS business, the impact of COVID is visible as volumes have fallen by 9%. But MTO has actually, on the other hand, grown by 9%. So pretty decent growth given that the overall global trade was also hampered in the month of March. So 2 questions. Why was that? And secondly, do you expect that therefore the impact on MTO could be more pronounced in Q1 FY21 as probably the impact on trade would have been higher in Q1. So just wanted your thought on that.
Sure. So I'll explain to you. There are 2 key things to note here. One, when we're talking about the CFS business, we are only talking about India. And if you notice the kind of lockdown and the economic shutdown that we had in India, particularly in the first couple of weeks, we did not have those kind of economic lockdowns across the world. Also, while the CFS, if you look at the volumes that we had in the CFS in terms of containers lying at the CFS, those numbers were good. it was only because of all the restrictions that a lot of deliveries could not happen in the last days of March, which is what brought down the volumes. However, naturally, there is an impact on CFS business linked with the trade coming into and going out of India. However, the difference in the NBOCC business is, while on one hand, it is connected with a larger world trade, so there are, opportunities wherein pluses and minuses get balanced out. So for an example, in the month of February, when China went down significantly, the rest of the Europe did well, while in case of when it came to a slightly slowdown in some of the other markets in March, we saw a sharp V-shaped recovery in China. So one is there's a global play. Secondly, if you understand the consolidation business, it's a business of scale as well. So whenever there are tough times, the smaller players would struggle to make their own containers because it is ultimately consolidation of various loads for several trade routes, and therefore we as market leaders were able to do better. And secondly, like I highlighted earlier, we were also able to keep a sharp control on our cost side as well. With all of these impacts, you saw that the impact on MTO was limited.
Sure.
Yeah. Prakash, if you want to add anything on the CFS side?
No, I think you covered it very well, Ravi. And CFS, very nicely you have summarized that the volumes came in, export volumes weren't there, and that's the issue. And please understand our accounting process. The accounting process is when the containers actually gate out, do we bill them? So they didn't gate out, so we couldn't bill them. And that billing would happen in the first quarter.
Sure, sir. Would it be possible for you to share the kind of industry growth that would have been there in global LCL market in Q1 of CY20 or Q4 of FY20? Any ballpark number that you have?
Sorry, did you say Q1 of FY21?
CY20. So what I meant is Q4 of FY20. The quarter gone by. There was any sense on the overall global LCL volume, sir? How the overall LCL market did?
He's asking about January to March.
January to March.
What was the numbers, if any, if we are aware of the global trade increase? Can I answer that?
It is tough.
Sure.
Yeah, let me tell about the global trade business, because LCL will not be very far away from that or will be in the range. The global trade actually grew only at 1.5% overall, and this is because of first of all, there was Chinese New Year, and then came the COVID issue. So the global trade, in terms of containerization, grew only by 1.5%. So if we were to answer the question for LCL, we would be anywhere around 2 or 2.5% in that range.
Sure.
Am I right, Ravi? If there is anything to add?
Yeah. That would be a wise guess, I would say. Though it's tough to comment on that because the kind of market intelligence is not available to get accurate numbers. Yeah.
Sure. I understand. So my second question is specifically on the CFS business. So what I was reading on the media is that there have been some discussions between shipping lines as well as CFS operators on the demurrage charges or the ground rent charges beyond the stipulated period because of the slower evacuation that you also alluded to in your opening remarks from the CFS. So any update on that? And what I also read is that there was a government directive instructing CFSs that they will not be able to charge the full ground rent income for that period. Is that correct, and what's your view on that?
Hey, let me take that one, Prakash. First of all, as you were mentioning about, the government directives, you are right. There were certain directives which came out from various other, sources and said, you shouldn't charge and give, free time up to, let's say, a particular date or whatever. This was challenged by the association of CFSAI. That is CFS's association called CFSAI. This matter is sub judice. It is pending in the Supreme Court right now for awaiting decision. But in the High Court, the decision was in the favor of the CFS association, stating that this is not the government property or government, area where we are operating. This is outside the port. And in fact, the government, the ministry actually came out of shipping and said, we cannot interfere in the pricing of or giving directions to the CFSs. However, the matter is sub judice as we speak, and this is in the Supreme Court. It's expected to be concluded somewhere in the month of July.
Sure, that is very helpful. My last question is on the logistics part business. So if I look at the look at the revenue, it is almost flattish. Actually, it's slightly lower by 1 crore. And also on the EBIT side, it is slightly lower, right? From about 12 crore to, the EBIT is...
EBIT has gone up, no?
Yeah. I'm talking about Q3 to Q4, sir. So Q3 of FY20 to Q4 of FY20. If you see, there is a slight decline also. So my question is that, how do you see logistics park business going forward from here on, both on a revenue side as well as profitability side? Are we able to, how much area is still to be leased, and therefore what kind of revenue do you expect from this in FY21? So these are the two questions.
Yeah, Deepal, you want to comment on the numbers?
Yeah. So, this is Deepal here. So, currently, the total capital employed on the logistics park is around close to 738 crores. Now, as you're aware, on the logistics park, most of our assets have already been, are under the process of getting sold to Blackstone.
Right.
So, except for, in the NCR region, we have one Jhajjar, which is not part of the deal, but rest all the logistics parks have been under, an agreement with Blackstone.
Yes.
So the overall entire logistics park, our initial building up plan is around close to 6 million square feet over the next 3-4 years. But out of which, if we just cull out the major portion which is to be given to Blackstone, around close to 5 million square feet, out of which 4 million square feet is actually going to get completed somewhere in, it was supposed to get in July, but because of the COVID, it may get extended by a month or so. So maybe by end of August or by September, we should be over with that 4 million square feet. So that also, in bits and pieces, it's already getting completed, and the leases are already active. So the entire 4 million square feet is actually forward lease, and we have customers waiting for possession of those. As and when they complete, they'll be taking over those, starting the lease rentals for those. Currently, our lease rental from that could be close to around 16 crores in the current year. But if we look at an annualized basis, our expectation would be close to around 115 odd crores of lease rentals from some of these properties which get completed by end of the year. But our handing over of these properties will happen by end of the year. By between January to March is when we expect to complete that process.
Right.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot, and all the best. I'll go back to the speaker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Ashish Kacholia from Lucky Investment. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Good afternoon. My question is basically, now that we have taken over the Gati management, can you please tell me what is the strategic position of that business in the market, given that we have that company has not been active for the last few years? So what is their market share? There have been a lot of new players like Delivery and so on and so forth. A lot of other players are coming to the market. So can you just throw some light on this?
Yeah, so I'll take that question. If you look at Gati, our mainstay business has been B2B surface express logistics, and which is where we, as Gati, pioneered the concept in India and have been in market leadership position, currently among the top 2 players in the country in that business. So we continue to have a substantial presence in the business. I would like to highlight that. And in terms of growth rates, Gati has had much lower growth rates as compared to the competition in the last 2-3 years, which is where we believe there's an opportunity to turn around the operations, make the operations more efficient, and improve the overall customer service. And also, Gati would benefit from the ability to offer integrated services in partnership with All Cargo, and there's a lot of other cross leverage as well in terms of various synergies on client base, etc. But just to reiterate, we have not been a marginal player. We've been a substantial player in the B2B Surface Express Logistics. If you look at any of the core segments, you look at the FMCG, the large e-commerce players, auto companies, almost all the top companies in the country work with Gati as a preferred partner on the express logistics piece. So we believe that the company has huge potential in terms of being able to improve the bottom lines, turn around through cost efficiencies, and also regain the lost market share. So Gati still has substantial market share, but it used to be an extremely high market share, let's say 4 years ago, which has slipped. And that is where we believe that we need to put the corrective actions in place. But we believe that we should be able to drive Gati into the market leadership position again in the coming years. That's how I see, and that's where the strategic position of Gati is in the overall landscape on express logistics in the country.
Right, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Dipesh Kashyap from Equirus Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thank you for taking my questions. So the MTO business has grown quite well in the fourth quarter and also in the FY20 as a whole. So I just wanted to know your expectations for FY21 given the current global scenario and especially the current India-China standoff.
Yeah. So basically, as we all know, first, there is uncertainty. So there's only a limited amount to which all of us can forecast, and which is why we also continue to engage internally and, keep reviewing our own performance and forecast, etc., on a regular basis. But what we have tried to do is, there's of course going to be an impact on the revenue with the entire COVID scenario. If the imports are down overall and there's a decline on the other domestic trade as well, they definitely impact. What we've tried to do is, one, we are trying to focus on use of technology and better customer service to end our dominant position, both in the domestic as well as the international businesses, to increase our market share so that the overall impact of the macroeconomic environment on our businesses is limited. That is the first endeavor that we have. The second endeavor is to have strong control on the cost so as to overall minimize the impact on the bottom line. That is how we've been operating, and we, at this point in time, given given the overall confidence that we see around, and we are no experts on how the COVID-19 outbreak would pan out, but basis the average expectation which we all would have on how it is likely to have an impact on the macroeconomic scenario, I believe we would be able to minimize the impact on our top line and further control through good cost measures, and therefore continue to protect our bottom lines. That is the broad strategy we have, and it will be tough to really make any sharper forecasts at this point in time in such uncertain environments when even economists are changing their views every 4 weeks. Yeah.
Understood, sir. So can you help me with the market share that you have in this segment in FY20? What was the market share?
So in the global LCL consolidation business, we have roughly around 13-14% market share.
Okay.
So it's
but
you can say 13 plus minus 1, yeah.
Correct. But the incremental growth is mainly being driven by the FCL business, as you have mentioned in the PPT, right?
So I would say that, being a new business, of course, FCL also continues to grow, and LCL also will continue to maintain strong position.
Okay. So my last question is on Gati again. So if I look at the results of Gati in fourth quarter, the express distribution business has again declined by 21%, and they've again made a loss. Now, I just want to understand, have they again lost further market share in the business because the rest of the companies did better than them? And just on your thoughts, how difficult or easy it will be to turn around this business, and how many years do you see you can take Gati get back to the levels it was in 2 years back?
Yeah. So I would say that, I would not be able to comment on specific numbers on competition on Gati, but we have the management control now, and we are evaluating all the opportunities for turnaround. But definitely, we see there's a potential to turn around these things. And in terms of a timeline, of course, it's not going to be with a magic wand. So we believe that over the next 2 years, and that's what our transformation goals also are, that we believe that over the next 2 years, we should be able to bring in better operational excellence processes, better use of technology, drive an overall lean, sales-focused organization, which should be able to do well. And that's the kind of time commitment which we believe is required to really see a visible impact on the performance and the turnaround that we all are targeting.
All right. So do you have any market share number, like how much market share they have currently?
I would say that, the numbers are more ballpark and we are just getting to the business. So I would refrain from commenting on that number at this point in time.
Understood. Thank you, sir, and all the best.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of HR Gala from Finvest Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I have two broad questions. We have spoken about MTO. Now, since in India, the activities have slowly started increasing, do you think the container freight station and project and engineering could do well in FY21?
Let me
Prakash, if you could answer on the CFS,
Yeah, I will answer on the CFS. See, in the CFS business, as I mentioned about the government and the businesses and also the shipping line, I've realized actually there is a value proposition coming out from the CFS, which was there always. And there was a confusion between about DPD and many other matters. It is clearly defined that, that the DPD concept does work only if everything is working very well. Now the situation is changed and going to remain changed for a period. So to conclude on the 2021, I expect that we should see the volumes coming back. Right now the volumes are low because the cycle has been broken and the volumes coming in or on the vessels are also lower. So overall the port volumes are down, so obviously it affects the CFS. If you were to ask, what will it look beyond September, we expect that the volume should grow and 2021 should at least conclude at the same level or even higher, I would say, as the levels of 1920.
Okay. So that should improve the profitability also.
It will. It should come up. It should come up well.
Yeah.
And remember, I'm on the premise that September onwards the volume should start showing up.
Okay. And project engineering, what is your take?
Yeah. So just to add, these are all our assumptions and forecasts based on the understanding that we are looking at the COVID scenario getting eased out completely over the next couple of months. If things change, we all may have to continue to reevaluate our analysis. As far as the Procision Engineering Solutions is concerned, like I mentioned earlier, we continue to have a healthy pipeline as well as an order book. So we did not see much concern there. On the equipment side, there was a sharp decline in the first 3 weeks, which was primarily the last week of March and first couple of weeks of April. But since then, gradually it started picking up 5%, 10% every week. And now we are already at 65-70% utilization as compared to, let's say, an 80% plus, which was the normal pre-COVID level. So things are getting back to pre-COVID levels on the equipment business as well. And we believe that the FY21, assuming that the assumption which I mentioned earlier, we should continue to do well in that business. I do not see a very sharp growth, but we should continue to be able to maintain our numbers going forward. The first 3 months would see an impact because of the underutilization led by lockdown and significant disruptions on the construction sites for various projects. Yeah.
Correct. Now my last question is on the debt. We say that our net debt is 1145 crores. Now, where do you see the debt going ahead? Because you will be receiving, I think, 380 crores. Plus, how will be our capex plan? So what kind of debt we can look at by end of next year?
Sure. So I'll ask my colleague Deepal to answer that. Deepal?
Yeah.
If you could take over and explain how our debt position is going to move.
Right. Thanks, Ravi. So, currently our debt position is 1142, which is actually considering, the Gati acquisition and the Blackstone still deal not completed.
Correct.
One can look at this as typically peak debt. So we do not expect, our debt levels to go northbound from here. In fact, post this also, we through the first quarter, we've already reduced. You must have seen the exchange. You notice we've already redeemed 160 crores of the NCDs. So our objective here is to reduce debt, impair this down. So we expect, if everything goes well, by end of the year, we expect the debt levels to go down to approximately 600-700 odd crores at the end of the year. Post the receipt from Blackstone and accrued earnings, etc., put together. On a net, on an equity of close to say 2,400 crores. So that would be a very, very, good figure to have actually.
Right.
Yeah.
And what will be your capex plan for FY21?
So we do not have any specific large capexes, only maintenance capexes for our businesses. The only capex that we have is for the logistics park, which we are expecting around close to 300 odd crores for completion of the project, which will be refunded back to us.
Acha, that money will come over and above 380 crores?
Yes. So 380 crore is not the total value of, it's the value of the equity portion, but there is a construction cost which also needs to be reimbursed. So that will also come through. Some of this will come through the year through upstreaming of LRD. So as and when, some of the projects which are completed, some of the boxes which are completed have already been rented out. Now, once these are rented out, we try to do an LRD. And these come, the money gets upstreamed into all cargo because we've spent on the construction.
Correct.
Eventually that subsidiary, currently that LRD money sticks into our debt, but eventually when, the Blackstone OCDs get converted into equity, that debt together with the company will be alienated from our debt. So that's the structure of the deal.
Okay. So at the end of the year, how much total value do you think we can recoup from Blackstone? 380 crore will be equity plus whatever is the construction cost.
So there are too many parts to the deal. We won't be able to share with you the exact number of funds that will be coming through here. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. So just to add one line on that, basically, as Deval highlighted, there's an equity portion to it. The rest of it is, let's say debt which is being raised for construction, and now these sit into SPVs wherein we will be reduced to minority stakeholder once the deal gets consummated. So all these, let's say we are putting in money from all cargo into these SPVs that is going in as debt, right, for construction, and then as the deal gets consummated, those will get paid back. And there could be different structures like Deepal explained, but that is how we can primarily look at it. There's an equity component which comes to us and the debt component which gets transferred to the SPV.
Correct. So, Ravi, just to add to this, this 1142 includes 112 crores of OCD which are issued to Blackstone.
Yeah.
Which typically takes the color of debt now, but eventually that will go off my debt sheet once it gets converted to equity at the end of the year.
Okay. In Gati, will you have to invest any funds further for expansion or something like that?
We are still evaluating. No specific numbers to state as of now. These are early days for us to evaluate the business and how it needs to grow. It's still in the business planning stage, I would say.
See, let me add over here that our open offer itself got completed in first week of April. The open offer got completed on the 9th of April. The shares got transferred. So after which we started to get a little bit involved. So it's going to take a few months for us to comment further on this.
I understand. So this 46.83% stake that we talked about is after the open offer.
Yes, 46.86 is the total.
86. Okay.
86, yeah. So 26 is the open offer, and rest 20.86 is for the SPA, and some it's in three parts. One is the SPA, the other is little bit open market operation, and we had 100 crore preferential issue to all cargo from Gati.
Yes.
So that's a combination of all this, adding up to 46.86%.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Shiv Chanani, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello. Hi, good afternoon, and thanks for the opportunity. Once again, I have a follow-up question on Gati. I do take on board your point that it's been 3 months that you have taken it over. But just a couple of queries, if you can help. One is, your partnership with Kintetsu, Gati's partnership with Kintetsu. Kintetsu holds some minority stake in Gati, and I think they also have a JV operational. So one was your thoughts on that, and second was on Gati Kaushal. I think in your notes to accounts you have mentioned that net worth is pretty much eroded for Gati Kaushal. So, again, your thoughts on those.
Yeah. So as far as the partnership with KWE is concerned, it's a strong partnership. They are an extremely valuable partner for us in the express logistics business. And as you rightly pointed out, they are our partners in the Gati subsidiary GKEPL. And we are excited to have them as our partners in driving the express logistics growth in the country. And KWE is also equally excited about having All Cargo as the new partner. And therefore, they have been extremely pleased with this transaction, and they've been extremely supportive in our plans and approach to grow the business. So that is a very important partnership for both KWE and All Cargo, which will help drive business growth in Gati. On the Gati Kaushal business, we are, like I said, we are on a turnaround transformation plan. So it would take some time. We are evaluating all the operational matrices, all the challenges on the reefer vehicle utilization, as well as on the storage side. We are trying to evaluate, and still early days to comment upon exact turnaround plans on how much time it will take. But we would have more details in the coming months on how exactly we believe we can turn around Gati Kaushal.
Yeah. And would that involve, potential evaluation of, maybe just exiting that business completely?
Tough to say at this point in time. We would, the first goal that we have at hand is to, see how we can improve the operational performance of the business and how we can grow the business. That is the first intent with which we are working on right now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ravi, Deepal here, just to add over here, I'm not sure if everybody has read it's already in public domain that we've already hired a consulting firm to restructure Gati. So we will evaluate, it's under evaluation of what businesses, how to restructure, how much to, so that evaluation will throw up some, action items as we go along, and these will be communicated as and when, they are ripe to communicate.
Yeah, and just to add the strategy guidance, if you look at what we've been trying to do at All Cargo, the focus clearly is to be, focused on core businesses which have, where, we believe there's a potential to have growth as well as market leadership. And we'll be evaluating Gati Kaushal also from that lens and how much potential opportunity we can create through it. So like I said, too early to comment on whether it will become a core business or a non-core asset to be moved. We need to further evaluate and come to that conclusion.
Right. And just last question, I remember long back there was some litigation around some of the FCCBs issued by Gati. Is that completely behind, or are there any contingent liability on account of that?
Sheetal, you want to comment on this?
All the material contingent liabilities have been addressed, and and as they disclose the numbers, you'll see more of that. So there are no material contingent liabilities outstanding.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Krupa Shankar from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity. I have two questions. First, on the MTO operations. As you pointed out that February actually was quite a difficult month for China, and while Europe coped up and later on China coped up for the rest of the globe. Can you highlight which are the key geographies which would contribute a majority portion, or any trade routes which would be a key contributor to our overall volumes?
Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a substantial position and we are market leaders in the LCL business as number one company globally. And therefore, naturally, we have strong presence across all regions. We have strong presence in the Indian subcontinent. We have strong presence in China and Far East. We also have, EQ Worldwide originally started in Europe, so we continue to maintain leadership in many of the European markets. We have a strong presence now in Americas as well through the acquisition that we did a few years ago. So it's tough to pick up any one sector. I would say we are strong across most of the key global markets, and therefore almost all the key trade lanes that are there for the ocean freight, we are strong across most of them. So which is what kind of provides that natural hedge to local issues which might emerge in one part of the world.
Understood. My second question was on the logistics park business. I can see that in the segmental financials which was provided, the segmental assets of logistics park has actually declined. So is there a transfer of a few of the assets to Blackstone already, and it is reflecting in our March numbers?
Yes. So this is Deepal here. So like I said, it's a sum of parts deal. So there are a couple of warehouses, smaller ones like the Hosur, the Goa, and some of these which have actually got transferred to them at the moment.
Okay. And can you quantify how much we have received from Blackstone so far?
The total amount that we received from Blackstone so far is 237 crores.
Okay.
It's a combination of equity, OCDs and CCDs.
Got it.
Yeah.
So one more question on the Avashya CCI operations. Can you highlight the operational numbers as to how the performance was during the year, and what are the key growth drivers we are expecting in this business? Because
I could not hear you. Can you repeat the question? My apologies.
Yeah. Sorry. I wanted to understand on the commentary on the Avashya CCI's operational performance. Over the last few years, we have been emphasizing that we would like to expand the contract logistics business. So any indication as to how it has performed in FY20 and what are the expectations in FY21?
Ravi, you want to take that or should I answer that?
Yeah, you can take the financial numbers and I can give more color on the strategy part. Yeah.
Okay, so for the ACCI, as far as the square feet, so like when we started off, we were at 1 million square feet. Now we are at close to more than 4 to 5 million square feet we are approaching in terms of growth for managing the warehouses. As for on the financial, it's been a little bit stagnant because it's an investment phase. So we are actually investing in a lot of, in terms of technology, in terms of manpower, the right team, so on and so forth. So that is where, the numbers as we stand today, they are, more or less similar to the previous year, marginally growing. But we expect a huge amount of growth because it's the future business, and we also believe that business syncs in with the Gati business, where we're currently doing a lot of distribution, which we are outsourcing currently. We're giving it to someone which can be kind of routed through Gati. So there is a strategic value to that business as well. That's all from my side, Ravi.
Yeah. So just to add to that, in ACCI, we have a dominant position in chemical business where we are the market leaders, which continues to be strong for us. And we have a presence in auto, which of course, there's been a bit of a decline on the auto side, but that has been made up with our quick expansion in some of the other domains. And e-commerce logistics in particular continues to be strong for us as we continue to expand our scope of engagement with the leading e-commerce players on the contract logistics piece. And that will be one of the future drivers of ACCI's growth. And so that is what I would like to add from a segment perspective and from the business opportunity perspective on ACCI.
Right. But I also understand that even Gati KWA also has some contract logistics business. So would you be merging these two together and perhaps scaling up operations?
So in terms of synergies, yes, there will be significant synergies, and that is something which we have already started working on. The first piece of focus has been collaboration between all the businesses, and of course, naturally being the so contract logistics piece not only would synchronize, would be using synergies with the contract logistics piece in Gati, but also on the express side as well. And in terms of from a legal structure perspective, too early to evaluate or comment upon those possibilities or opportunities in the first place. But from a business standpoint, yes, there are synergies. The teams talk to each other. They try to see how they can develop the business together and make it stronger and grow faster. So it's like 1 + 1 = 3.
Sorry, were you talking specifically about the subsidiary GKE, the Gati Kentetsu partnership, or were you talking Kentetsu standalone through APL Logistics or something? Sorry, what was your exact question?
Yeah, so their question was around the synergies or any plans on mergers between the contract logistics business and understand, which I answered,
Then that's the right answer, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, I'd like to remind all participants, please limit your question to 2 per participant. You may rejoin the question queue if you have a follow-up. Next question is from the line of Ankit Panchmatia from BNK Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Hi, thanks for taking my question. I wanted to see India's impact for the current quarter, if I can get, in terms of the operational expenses, depreciation, and finance.
Yeah, Deepal, if you could answer that, please.
Yeah, so the annual impact total is close to, for the PAT, the annual impact is close to 3.81 crores. That's a combination of around decrease in rent of approximately 71 and increase in interest and depreciation of 75. So that is the larger number. On the quarter basis, it's approximately, the impact is, you can say approximately 1/4 of that. I'll just give you the exact numbers.
Okay. And sir, regarding Gati, so I believe Gati also has some warehousing space, as well as they have petrol pumps and other ancillary business.
Yeah.
So are we deciding to kind of, or it's still in the progress to kind of continue with this business and then slowly, steadily hive off all these unrelated businesses? How are we planning to, what is our...
I understood your question. Just in the interest of time, I'll try to answer that quickly. On the contract logistics piece, like I answered just now in the earlier question, we look for synergies and that's a business to grow. As far as businesses like fuel stations are concerned, definitely we see them as non-core, and the strategy at All Cargo has been to focus on core businesses and exit non-core businesses at an appropriate opportunity.
Right. And sir, just to get the thought process right, because Gati is primarily domestic B2B, B2C express business, the DNA itself is very much different from what All Cargo DNA is, from where it has came up to, and from what surface level we are more to do with global. So how synergies you believe would be built up across both these businesses?
So so there are a lot of synergies. One, of course, from a fundamental business itself of consolidating cargoes for international trade lanes versus consolidating cargo for domestic express movements. But the largest synergy lies in the whole integration piece. Like you said, Gati is all India and All Cargo is a significant global presence. Ultimately, all the trade moving in and out of India benefits from an integrated offering. And that's where the whole synergy comes in, because the cargo, so now we can offer a door-to-door logistics solution to the end customer using the Gati's expertise on the India hinterland side and using All Cargo's network on the global side. There's a clear synergy there, and we've already in fact started working on it. That's like the first thing we're focusing on. Yeah.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Abhijit Mitra from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yes, thanks for taking my question. So my question is again on the logistics park. So essentially, if I remember last quarter, you mentioned that total capital employed was around 870 crores, of which 500 crores would be getting transferred to the SPVs, and you would retain the rest because that's the investment which is related to charges. Now, if you can sort of take me through what are the numbers currently and how these numbers change, because we would be adding to the capex of around 300 crores for next year as well. And also, if you can just let me know, out of 380 crores of equity that you are supposed to receive from Blackstone, how much of the equity you have already received during the course of the year? Thanks. That's all from my side.
Yeah, Deepal?
Yeah, okay. So, we were supposed to receive 380 crores, plus there were two small land parcels that we also were looking at. So the total deal size will be approximately 420 crores, approximately. Out of which we have transferred 317 odd crores we have already transferred to the SPVs, okay, in Q3. That transfer, is the construction has happened at the cost, because it's still under construction, and the land is transferred at the fair market value. That is how it has been transferred. Now, coming back to the amount of received, which we also mentioned earlier, we have received around 237 crores from the Blackstone.
Right.
So that answers the question.
But that includes the OCD and the CCDs as well.
So we mentioned earlier that this includes, it's a combination of equity, OCDs and CCDs.
Right.
Okay. So the balance amount, so this 380 does not represent the entire enterprise value which is going to be coming. So this eventually will be the equity portion of Blackstone coming into the deal. There is also a debt portion which will be coming in. So which will go into the SPV, and the amount that we spend for construction, which will be upstream to all cargo once the warehouses are completed. Which we also referred earlier that there will be this 300 crores which will be spending on construction will be reimbursed back to us.
Right. So essentially 370 crores or thereabout.
Any parts to this, sir. So we will not be able to give you the total because this, the deal is still, there are some parts of the deal which are still evolving. So we don't. Currently, we are not sharing the exact enterprise value and the details of the deal.
Got it. No worries. But essentially, 370 crores, which is related to charges, that will stay. Everything else is sort of moving out.
Yes.
And majority of that, debt move is yet to happen. Is that the understanding?
Correct. So currently, my whatever construction that I have taken and the warehouse is not completed, it still holds on to my books.
Right.
And whatever LRDs that I have, so there are some boxes which were recently completed. Like we said, our target was for completion in June. So some of the boxes have already completed. So there we've already taken LRDs. So these LRDs basically will stick to my books, currently. And once these SPVs get alienated from my books, in the sense that the shareholding pattern changes from the OCDs get converted into equity, and Blackstone holds 90%, these will get alienated from my books, and that debt will also move out of my books.
And that process will happen mostly at FY21 end.
That will happen FY21 end, March of 21 approximately. So we mentioned earlier in the call that between January to March of 21, this is expected to complete.
Got it.
It was January, but because of this COVID, we are expecting a month and a half delay probably in that.
Sure. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Preet Nagar Seth from Well Financial Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. My question is, I would like to better understand what are the current utilizations at Gati. So, for example, say in April, was it at 5%, and then where did it go for each progressive month? If you can give some sense there.
So I would say you rightly said it was, let's say, it was rock bottom down to 5% kind of a number in the first 3 weeks of the COVID lockdown. It has steadily increased, and as of today, we are already at near 90% of 85-90% of the pre-COVID levels. Yeah. And beyond that, I would say there's been a gradual build-up. So to give you a further picture, would be different. It's been like from 5 to 20 to 40, and currently we're already back to almost 85-90% of the pre-COVID levels.
Okay, that's pretty good. And is this a sustainable? Meaning the sense that I got from talking with other logistic companies is that some days it's high, some days it gets low because the global
it varies.
Kind of broken.
Yeah, it does vary, and I mean, so.
Yeah, that is accurate though. We also see some of that volatility, but it's getting there. And guys,
do you see it?
This is not a Gati call. Let's wait for Gati to happen. So just let's be.
So you're going to have a Gati call? I'm sorry. Are you going to have a Gati call?
So I think let this Gati management explain that. I think if we can keep the focus to all cargo and we answer on all cargo, that would probably be better. I think we've given enough color around Gati. I think if we can try and also try and wrap this up quickly.
Sure.
Thanks.
All right. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, but you're right. We have been growing rapidly. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Praveen Kumar, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hi sir, congratulations for the wonderful results. I just have some query on the margin front, the profitability bit. I see that 94% of the business, the MTO and the CFS are, giving ROC in excess of 20%, while the overall ROC is about 9%. So, even the EBITDA margin is slightly on the lower side. So, some color on that. What kind of numbers do you foresee, by the end of this year on that?
Yeah, can I take that? Deepal here.
Yes, please, Deepal. Yeah, Deepal, go ahead.
Okay, so if you look at our total capital employed, we are at close to 3,500 capital employed, out of which, close to almost 900 plus 600, around 1,600 is currently not part of the MTO and part of the CFS business. Now, what are the breakup of that? One is around 433 or 450 odd crores is Gati. So that's still, the value from that is still not flowed into our books. The other is the revenue generating at the moment, which is the investment into the logistics park, which will kind of start generating, the investment will come back and your books will lighten by end of the year. So once all these transactions start kind of, taking shape, we expect the ROC to reach close to almost average 18% is what our expectation would be. Now, this is what we didn't expect. This was our estimate without COVID into impact. So assuming it doesn't hurt too much, I think we should be around that number by end of the year.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Krupa Shankar from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the follow-up. Just one question on the provision for portfolio that's in the project and engineering business. Is there any write back in the current quarter, if you can highlight?
Write back? For what?
The provision write back in fourth quarter?
No. In fact, there is a marginal provision for the PDD, but for which we have secured contracts and agreements for the amount to be recovered in the coming few months.
Understood. And last on Avasha CCI, can you tell us what would be the PAT number for FY20?
A private company, so generally we don't share all that details at the moment.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Prateek Kumar for his closing comments.
Yeah, thanks, sir. I have just a couple of questions from my side. Firstly, on there was this standoff at the ports, which was reported like in last fortnight regarding delays in clearing of cargo at the ports at JNPT, Chennai, etc. So is that still prevailing, or has that eased off, and has that any impact on our operations?
Are you, Prateek, are you referring to those clearances which were in the news regarding China cargo or whatever?
Right.
Okay, that has been eased, and I think that was intelligence more than anything else. I think the media had spun it differently. It was more intelligence report, which keeps happening off and on, and I would not pay too much attention to it, and that has been cleared off. The cargo is moving. We didn't see much of an issue there. There was a 1 or 2 days, cargo intelligence reports are there generally, and the customs do check that. That has been over, and now everything is business as usual.
Right. Except for this, like as you said, some of the volumes got pushed off to this quarter from last quarter because we couldn't book it because they couldn't be gated out. Q1 is expected to be a very strong number for CFS, or I mean, we would have a significant other impact of slow business offsetting that.
Q1 has been better than the Q4 of the last year, that is FY20. And the June has just ended. We don't have all the numbers together. June was a weaker number in terms of volumes coming in on the ships. Overall volumes on the ships into India were lower. So please wait, and once we are out with our numbers for the Q1, we will discuss those details.
Right, and just
it will be better than Q4 FY20.
Right. There's one question on your FCL growth for FY20 versus LCL growth for FY20 in the overall volume mix for in MTO operations.
So we look at it as an aggregate of We look at it as an aggregate of the overall container volumes that we handle. We don't really segregate between the two kinds of cargoes because on the procurement side is the full boxes that we procure, and that's how we evaluate the business, and that's how we report it as well.
All right. Thanks, sir. Thanks for all your time. Thanks the management. I think Janice, we can close the call now. Any closing remarks from the management?
No, thank you all. Hope we were able to answer most of your questions. Thank you for joining.